The curve had no curbing, it was just grass. But halfway round the corner, there was a curbstone. Yeah, I hit it and ripped 2 wheels off the car and pretty much destroyed the chute. My name is Jethro Bovingdon. I am a motoring journalist. I got into the industry pretty luckily, actually. Straight from university, wrote several letters the old-fashioned way to different magazines. Nearly got a job with Auto Express, but probably fortunately didn't, and ended up working at Evo magazine, which was a great place to learn all about performance cars and driving, and they sent me racing. So yeah, I felt like I learned from the best team. It took a long time. I think my first meeting with them was in May 2000, and I got the job in like March 2001. But it was definitely worth the wait. It was a great place to learn. My first test car, well, Evo actually had booked in a series of cars for me to drive. So when I turned up, there was a Fiat Seicento Sporting waiting for me. But as it turned out, Fiat didn't insure people under the age of 25 on any of their cars. So despite the fact that it had whatever it has, 69 horsepower or something, I wasn't insured on it. So the first car I took home was a bright yellow Seat Cupra. So I had a little upgrade. It was great. Well, I'd started reading Evo while I was at university. It came out, I guess, while I was at uni. So I loved it, and I felt like it was a little family or community, really. I think that was the magic of the mag back then. And when I joined, it actually felt like that. It was surprising how good it was. It felt like a little family business, slightly dysfunctional family, but definitely a family business. Harry at the top, 2 co-editors, Richard Meaden and John Barker, Peter Tomlin, who was sub-editor, the design team. So it was a very close-knit little community. They really, this sounds really boring, but they actually cared about the mag, which was great. So they cared about what I said, what I thought, how I drove. So they didn't just throw me straight into launches and reviewing cars. They made sure I knew what I was talking about. So they sent me to driving courses, they sent me racing, they booked in cars for me to drive and then review to them that never went anywhere else but to their screens. And then once I was like a fully fledged member of the team, it was mega. It was like everyone's dream job, I guess. The best cars, the best locations. We didn't care about budgets. Didn't really care about speed limits back then. Certainly in Europe, it was a bit of a different world. So every fantasy you could have about working for a really good car magazine that only cares about performance cars was what Evo was like back then. It was literally as good as you think it was. And I think I look back now and appreciate it more. But yeah, it was awesome. I loved it and I learned a huge amount. So yeah, it was the golden age, probably of my career, which is a bit sad because it was the first part of it. Oh my God. Okay, yeah, so the video of me in a Ferrari FF, which I try and block out, but sadly can't. I was on a launch. I was actually freelancing at the time and working for Car Magazine. Ferrari FF launch. We'd been driving all day. We had on a launch you don't get much time. You get a day basically. And we had to do a video and a feature and a cover. And Car Magazine they used to kill me with their cover requests. They'd always want like 400 cover options. So we had a ton of work to do. We'd been driving for about 4 hours and found nowhere to do it. We'd finally found the right bit of road, set the camera up. I think the photographer was waiting at the top of the road. I was sent down to the bottom of the road to do the car video on the way up, and then he'd shoot me. So I was coming around a corner, I was talking to the camera. The FF's massive. It's like, it feels like it's 50 feet wide, which is my first excuse. And I was talking to the camera, and I turned the corner, and I guess I had one wheel just in the verge, or one side of the car just in the verge. And the curve had no curbing, it was just grass. But halfway round the corner, there was a curbstone. And yeah, I hit it and ripped 2 wheels off the car and pretty much destroyed the chute, you would think, but Ferrari very kindly turned up, I don't know, 35 minutes after I'd ripped 2 wheels off one FF and gave me another one, and we managed to finish the chute just. And I remember I had to get in the car having just ripped 2 wheels off it, get in the new one, and the next chute location was like probably an hour and a half away, and we had about 40 minutes to get there, so I had to drive the thing absolutely on its door handles, having just caused a lot of damage to another one. So that was interesting, but yeah, I hate that video with a passion. Yeah, the old car of the year shoots were the best, I guess. We always blew the budget. I remember very clearly that we always blew it by like 25 grand an issue whenever it was car of the year. But it didn't really matter because it was sort of Harry's money, so it was fine. Yeah, we got the best cars and it was a huge amount of fun. And actually, before video came along, it was even more fun because there was just a bit less pressure on us. We tended to go to the best locations, and I remember it was always the drives in the morning and the evening that were the best. So on the way to the location, we always made sure we had a hotel in one location, probably 30, 45 minutes from the actual shoot location. So we got a big flat out drive in the morning and then the same in the evening. And in the evening, we'd always be cold and hungry and needing a beer, so the drive home would be even more spectacular. So some of my best drives were definitely on the way back from finishing a day shooting on Car of the Year. It was mega, absolutely awesome. Yeah, so we've got a new show, Petrolhead Planet, which is coming on to MotorTrend pretty soon. What I wanted to do was capture some of the amazing locations that I've been to and discovered over the years and pair it with this current obsession that I think a lot of us have with sort of modern classic cars. Everything's got bigger, heavier, faster, more electronics. And I think there's this sort of sweet spot in the, I don't know, 90s, early 2000s, where cars were super fast, super reliable, really consistent, really fluid at the limit, but they didn't quite have all the crazy stuff we have now, and they're a little bit more accessible. So combining great locations with awesome, iconic performance cars. So we've done everything from like E30 M3 up to McLaren P1, and GT3 RS 4 litre in the middle with Carrera GT, which is like the two possibly best cars ever. So it's been really cool, and it's been a great reminder to me. Sometimes you feel like you're looking back with, you know, some sort of rose-tinted glasses or whatever at that period, but having got into those cars again, I think it probably was the sort of peak for people who love driving. So to take those cars into those locations, been brilliant. Pyrenees, South of France and the North Coast 500 in Scotland we've covered so far, and I hope we get to do some more because it's been huge fun. Yeah, hard to say which one we're most proud of. I mean, to get the very first episode, actually we did the North Coast 500 and we had the GT3 RS 4 litre and Carrera GT. So to get those cars was perfection, like, oh my God, so good. But I think the one in France, we have E30 M3, E46 M3 CSL, and we just go all the way from sort of the Rally Monte Carlo roads all the way across Route Napoleon sort of area and end up at Mont Ventoux, and we meet Harry Vatanen along the way, and we go to some other cool places like a Citroen museum that I absolutely have always wanted to go to and never had time to. So that one sort of encapsulated the whole idea of iconic cars that you might not have seen that much good video content with, great location, and actually showing there's more to the location than just the road. So maybe that one's the best. Yeah, so coming off of YouTube and onto MotorTrend, I mean, positives, no comments, which is great. Don't have to deal with YouTube comments, which I've always been very good at ignoring. Yeah, it's been fascinating. I love that I've been out to the States and now doing stuff for MotorTrend in Europe as well, because different culture, bit more budget, and you can afford to maybe not just always be doing the same as everyone else, which is great. I think in the magazine world, I always loved it that you could do different things and not be on the launch sort of treadmill that everyone else is on. And going out to the States and now in Europe as well, it's been great to be able to do stuff that not other people are doing. YouTube has been great, I guess, for lots of different brands, including MotorTrend, for exposure, but it's easy to get lost there, and I think it's been nice to do something super high quality and with an absolute focus on what it needs to be. So I've enjoyed it. I mean, I tend to just do stuff that I want to do, and MotorTrend really fitted the bill for me. It's been pretty good. I mean, YouTube is probably okay, but yeah, I'm enjoying the change. Yeah, so Top Gear America is coming up. We've done like 1 week's filming. It's myself, Rob Corddry, who's from Ballers and Hot Tub Time Machine and various other things, and Dax Shepard, who is famous for lots of things, but mostly being married to Kristen Bell. Sorry, Dax. It's been really good fun so far. Very intimidating. If you touch anything with Top Gear in the title, it's scary and big, and it feels like a lot of pressure, but those two guys are really, really funny. We seem to get on really well, and we're trying to capture some of the spirit of what's always been Top Gear with crazy projects and crazy journeys, but also keep the car right at the center of the story, which I'm super keen on. So if I get to drive cars, especially the best cars, for the reviews, I'm very, very happy. And then the adventures and the builds are going to be fun as well. And America is just an unbelievable location. There's so much scope to do stuff, so many different landscapes. If we can do the place justice, and with those two guys, it's going to be funny, because they're just funny if you just go for a cup of coffee with them, and they're brilliant on camera. So I'm just hanging on to their coattails and trying to drive faster than Dax. So I think it'll be fun. Greatest car I've driven in the last year, that's tricky. One of my current favourite cars is the McLaren 720S. I just think it's unbelievable. I know there is some McLaren fatigue out there because they bring out a new car every 7 minutes. In fact, there's probably another one coming along now. But it does everything. It's so, so good. So McLaren 720S, every time I drive one, blows my mind. And I drove a Superformance Ford GT, which is an old GT40 replica. I've driven a couple before, and every time I do, I'm like, what? This is it. It's so gorgeous. I think it's the best looking car probably ever made. Get a really angry V8 in them. And they're just so special, and they're a reminder of how much work you have to do in those cars to drive quick. If you're in any hot hatch, you would probably destroy the Ford GT down any given road, but you'd be having a lot more fun in the Ford. So yeah, great to reconnect with a car like that that's completely analog. And on the flip side, the 720S, which is basically a spaceship. The worst car, well, my good friends at MotorTrend, whenever I'm flying into America, I ask them if they have a car for me, and they very often give me the worst car on their long-term fleet. So the very pick of those bad cars, I think, was a Honda Civic hybrid of some description. I have no idea what it was, and I hope to never drive it again. And yeah, life is far too short to drive something like that. Go and buy something else. My 911 is a mystery at the moment. A long time ago, I had a little misfire with it, and I assumed it was a coil pack or something. I took it to a specialist. They called me the next day and told me my engine was dead for various reasons. I wasn't 100% confident in that verdict because I'd driven it for like 500 or 600 miles with that little tiny misfire, so I figured it couldn't be as dead as they said. Then Porsche Classic in Swindon got hold of the car and had a look at it for me. Everything that I was told was wrong was actually okay with the car, but the oil, this is going to get quite in-depth and boring, but the oil scavenge pumps had broken up. So some metal has gone into the engine, and I think some of it might have ejected somewhere. There's a little tiny hole in the cam cover. And so basically, long and the short of it is I was going to get a new X51 engine, which is a power kit engine, super rare, and put it in the car. Then I found out the X51 power kit engine was £60,000. No, it wasn't. It was £38,000. And there was like 20 grand's worth of other work that I was going to do at the same time. And I figured spending £60,000 on a car worth 15 was A, impossible for me because I don't have 60,000, and B, completely ridiculous. So current status is I am putting new oil scavenge pumps on it, new exhausts, seeing what happens with the engine. I think it's okay, actually. And then I've got new suspension, new seats, new pedals, new everything, brakes to put on it. So I am about to spend a load of money on it and keep my fingers crossed that the engine hangs together. If it doesn't, I'm going to spend a lot of money on it, the engine's going to blow up, and then I'll spend even more money on it. Wow, this is going to be a short question. What YouTubers do I watch? I don't really watch many, and that sounds terrible. I have a very specific enjoyment of cars, and it is about how they drive effectively. And if I really want to know how they drive, there's very few people that I actually trust to tell me, because I know I drive in, I guess, not a specific way, but I know what I like, and I know who else can find out those answers. So I watch Henry Catchpole, who I used to work with at Evo and various other places. I watch Chris when he's doing stuff, Chris Harris. I sometimes watch the autocar videos, they're quite fun, but I don't watch any of what you would call the YouTubers, I don't think. Sorry, YouTubers, but lots of other people do, so you're doing great. Harry's Garage, I quite like watching Harry's Garage. I can't quite get through the full 2.5 hours or whatever they are. No, they're like 40 minutes, aren't they? Yeah, I have watched a couple lately actually, and they're very good. I do love Harry, he's a good dude. V10. BMW M every day. Ooh, 3 guys who fired me from DriveTribe. Which one of those do I hate the most? No, I like May. Speciale or GT3 RS is the killer question. I'd probably go GT3 RS 4 litre, but if it was a normal RS, I would go Speciale. Sorry, that wasn't very quick fire. Haven't driven Speedtail yet. P1. I mean, Valkyrie. Who doesn't want a new e-supercar? That is the new McLaren F1, isn't it?